Hey, what's up guys? So this video that's about to play was supposed to be the unboxing, install tips and a review, but it was starting to get a little bit too long with just the unboxing and the install tips, so I'm going to do the review separately. So if you are here just to see the review, the link will be in the description below, but if you're interested in seeing the unboxing and some install tips in the E39 5 Series, then keep watching. But as I said, the review will be done separately and it will be in the link will be in the description below. If you do watch this video, you'll notice I say in the review, but it isn't in this video. So as I said, link in the description. Hope you enjoy, hope it's helpful.
Now I gotta wash my mouth out with soap.
Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome. Today I'm going to be unboxing and reviewing the Eonon GA7201. This is the Eonon head unit for the BMW E39, which is the 5 Series. I've already got an Eonon unit in my car. I've had that for about 2 or 3 years. It's been really good. I only bought this one just as an upgrade. This one's running Android. My other one's running Windows CE, so this is Android 6. It's got a whole bunch more features, but we're going to get into them in the review. I'm also going to share some quick install tips. I'm not going to show the whole install because most of it is just removing trims on the car, and there's plenty of videos showing you how to do that kind of stuff. And the other thing is, because I already have the unit in the car, the installation is going to be a little bit quicker than if you were removing the factory unit. So let's get started with the unboxing. Alright, so this is the box it comes in right here. It was wrapped in a nice plastic, and we actually bought 2 of these. One's for my car, one's for a friend's X5. The X5 at the moment has a standard factory head unit in it, so we might actually show the full install on that car rather than mine. But let's get the unboxing done. Just gotta be careful with these boxes. I did cut my finger, they're really sharp on the edges there, so this thing popped out. I've already opened this to make sure everything's here as well, so yours might look a little bit different. When you open it, first thing is you'll be greeted with this packet here. And in this, you'll find the CAN bus decoder, so that's what tells the car certain things so your steering wheel controls can work. It comes with the harness for the back and the plates to mount it, a few more little cables. And got a trim removal tool, which is pretty cool. Screen protector. Now Eonon threw in a free camera for me, so I've already got a reverse camera on the car, but they threw in this dash cam, front dash cam, which looks pretty cool, USB. So that just plugs in the back, and then you got an app on the head unit that will actually record, so that's pretty awesome. The next is the actual unit, so let's get that out and have a look. It's awesomely packaged, I've got to say, and every time I've received an Eonon unit, I've got quite a few now because I've got the original one in my car, the one I put in my partner's car, put one in my dad's car, we put one in my sister's car. They've always come nicely packaged. Let's get this out. So that's the unit right there. So just remember, when you do install this, these are pretty obvious, but you've got to remove these screws on top when you install the unit. I think it's just to stop the DVD tray moving around in transport. Yeah, very nice looking unit. Looks very factory, that's why I like it. And that's it. So there's another bag at the bottom here. And in this bag, there's some more leads. You've got the RCAs, GPS antenna, Wi-Fi antenna, and a whole bunch of other stuff. That will probably, USBs as well. We'll probably get into more of this as I do the install and as I do the actual review. So just before I get started, Eonon did me a really good deal on this because I've bought plenty of units in the past for friends' cars, my car, and I also did a review on my old YouTube channel that now has over 40,000 views, and I think I'm pretty responsible for a lot of their sales for that unit. So they did me a really good deal, but that isn't going to sway my review. I told them I'd do the review if they gave me a good price, and they did, but I'm not going to do a good review just for the sake of that. It's going to be a very honest review, just like my last one was. Anyway, before I officially get started again, if your car has navigation or DSP, so if you have a screen in your car like mine did, you will need a harness that goes from the front of the car to the back of the car. Because essentially, if you have navigation, The screen at the front of your car is pretty much just that. It's just a screen, and the radio and all the stuff, the insides, they're pretty much in the boot or the trunk of the car. I'm going to call it a boot from here on out. But when I say boot, for those in the US and whoever else calls it a trunk, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, you will have to run a harness to the boot of the car. If you don't have factory nav or DSP, you'll be able to plug it in directly behind the radio, so right behind the dash, which is nice and easy. My car had factory navigation, so when I bought my first Eonon unit, Eonon just didn't know anything about that harness or needing any of that stuff. So I had to actually make one. So it was a harness of, I think it was 19 wires or something like that, 5 meters long, so all the way from behind the dash to the boot. So it was a bit of a pain to make that harness, but now Eonon sell it. So I'm going to show you that now. So that's it there. So this is the end that will end up at the front of the car. That goes into the back of the radio. Then you got your subwoofer, pre-out, microphone, all that stuff. And this is the end that goes in the boot. So obviously when you are running this, you're probably going to need to run it from the boot to the front because you're not going to get these down the car, but you'll possibly get this up the car. So you will need this if you do have factory navigation or DSP. If you don't have that, like I said, it's very easy, plug and play right behind the dash. So mine, I need this cable. So what I'm going to do now is bring the car in and start getting it installed.
I feel it coming out my throat. Guess I better wash my mouth out with soap. God, I wish I never spoke. Now I gotta wash my mouth out with soap.
And judging by what my car told me, you might have seen in the video that I think I've got a blown brake light globe. But anyway, so I'm going to show you quickly the original Eonon unit, just very quickly how it looks in the dash, and then I'm going to get started. Alright, so this is the original unit right here. It's been really good. It's been a great unit. It's got GPS, everything on it. The only reason I bought this one, I did want an updated model, and this one did blow a speaker channel, so the front right speaker stopped working, but I did swap that to the rear, and it was actually the head unit. We did some testing, it was actually the head unit, but like I said, had it for a few years. It was pretty cheap. I think I only paid maybe a few $100s for it at the time, 2 or 3 years ago, and it's been really, really good. Probably the best thing I've bought for this car. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to share some tips of the install along the way, and hopefully it all goes to plan. And just quickly, I'm going to show you what I mean by the plugs being in the boot. So behind here, if you've got navigation or DSP, you'll have all of this stuff. So this here is the harness that I made originally, that comes from the head unit all the way and plugs into this. So originally the car plugged into this unit under here, now it plugs into the actual head unit at the front. So, but it is quite easy to work out if you do have DSP. There will usually be a button on your radio that says DSP, or somewhere in the settings there'll be an option for DSP. And navigation's pretty obvious if you have that disc unit in your boot, or you have the option for navigation. It's pretty easy to work that out. So what I'm going to do now is take some interior pieces out so I can run that harness all the way down the car. What I'm going to do as well, I'm going to leave, I can't use the original harness because I think the pins might be different on the new radio. And the other thing I'm thinking is I like the one that Eonon made as well. It's much more professional. I'm going to try and leave my original one in there if it fits, because then if anything goes wrong with this unit, I can just swap my old one back in and out if I ever need to. I hope that never happens, but just in case. Alright, so this is where I'm at so far. I've pulled back some of these trims. Now I'm going to have to take the back seat out so I can run this harness through there. Alright, so the hardest part of this install is actually getting the cable from the boot section into the cabin, so just past the rear seat. So what you want to do is take out the bottom half of your rear seat. It's very easy, it just pulls up. I've already got that out. And you can take the whole back off as well. There's some bolts just in the sides. But I've only taken off one side because it's more than enough room. And a little tip for those, this may help heaps. If you look there, not sure if you can see, but there's actually a hole where the cabling comes in from the boot. So I've tucked this yellow tongue, that's what I call it, this cabling through the hole. I've taped up the new loom, and with a bit of luck we should be able to pull that through into the cabin. This would have been easier if I just pulled the whole back seat out and made myself some room, but I just want to see if I can do it without pulling the whole back seat out. Another thing, while you're doing this kind of stuff, it is a good time to vacuum all the little crevices out like this, because there's just wrappers and crap everywhere. So before I put this back together, I'm going to give this a nice vacuum and clean out. And another reason why this is so much harder for me than it probably will be for you, as I said, I'm leaving the original loom that I made in the car, so that's this here. So it does take up a lot of space in that hole, so it's hard trying to get the plugs and stuff through, but it will come through. It's just going to take a little bit more persuasion. Alright, it's all through. So now what I'm going to do is pull this out as far as I can, so I've still got room to plug it in the boot. And then we're going to need to run it through behind all these. These are pretty easy to take off. From here on out, the job's pretty easy. This is probably the hardest part. I just hope that I do have enough room in my seals. Or down here, I just hope I have enough room in there with the original loom to run the new one as well. So right now I can take this off and just start pulling the cable through and then wiring it to the front of the car. Alright, so I've pulled all the slack of these cables into the car. Just make sure you don't pull all the way so it ends up back there, or you'll never get it plugged in here. So leave it back here, make sure you leave a bit of slack, plenty of room to play with. Another thing I forgot to mention before, you won't be using all of these. It depends on the connector type. Mine's this one, the round pin. Wait till it focuses. Yep, that's mine, the round pin. And some of them have the flat pin like that. So you do get both on the end, which is awesome, so that's all good. Alright, I'm going to carry on and feed that cable to the front of the car now. Alright, so this part's pretty damn easy. This little plastic piece that was here just pulls out. There's just some clips, very easy. Pulls out, you pull your rubber seals up, and then this just pops off, so you can then run your cables all nice in here. So I don't know if I'm going to have enough room with the original loom. If I don't, I'm going to pull it out, but I really want to keep it there just in case. And one more thing just before I carry on. If you think you're going to be running, you know, aftermarket subwoofers or amps or anything like that, reverse camera, make sure you run all that stuff now so that you can just plug it in. I already have a subwoofer, so that cable's already ran down the car, the RCA cable and the remote wire. So yeah, if you're going to do any of that stuff, especially reverse camera, I've also got a reverse camera, so that's already running down the car. This is the time to do it because you don't want to pull all this apart again. It doesn't take that long, but the hardest part, like I said, is from the back seat to the boot. Once you pass there, it's pretty easy. Under the dashboard, it isn't too hard. I'm still hoping I've got enough room to fit both looms. It is getting a bit tight at the front of the car, but I think I'll be alright. Alright guys, it's literally been like 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes since my last little clip, and I've already ran it to the front of the car. So it is right now. It's in my passenger footwell. Just there. And then what I'm going to do in the E39, it's very easy. I'm going to run it through the kicker here, and then under here there's a panel that just pulls down, and it'll run straight over to the back of the head unit. So the cable actually did fit very nicely in there, even with my original harness. Not original harness, but the one I made for my last Eonon unit there. So I'm nearly home, guys. Let's see how this goes. And another little quick tip, sorry I keep interrupting, but I keep thinking of these little tips. Before you put the whole car back together, make sure you test it. Test the head unit out of the car, so just have all the wires out of the dash. And yeah, because if something's wrong, you don't want to pull the whole car apart again. So I'm nearly there. I'll let you know once I've got the head unit plugged in the front, and we'll do some testing. Alright, so I've got my cables run up here. They're about to come through. I'm going to take the original unit out now so I can fish the wires through. I'm also going to take some photos behind here to make sure that all the connections are back together and they're in the right place. So I do have lots of wiring down here because, like I said, I've got the original, or the harness I made for this head unit, the new harness, I've got an amp RCA cable for the subwoofer, and all this here. I do have a module in the car that can control the lighting from the remote, so the headlights stay on for a certain amount of time and all that stuff. That's what that is. This interior is very, very easy to pull apart, I've got to tell you. Extremely easy. So I've run it all the way down. Like I said, just going to pull this one out now and fish my wires through. Alright, so I'm just about to release the unit. Please forgive me, it is an absolute mess behind this unit because Eonon originally just gave you all the cables that were already connected, even if you weren't using them, so they're all there. The new one looks like you only plug in what you're going to be using, which is kind of cool. And I did have to, this is an absolute mess as well, because like I said, this did blow the front right channel, so I flipped my fronts to the rear, so that's what all this is all about here. So it is an absolute mess. Thankfully though, I can pull all of this out now and fish my new wires through. And like I said, I'm just going to take some photos of this to make sure I've got everything I need, and should be nearly done. And just quickly before I continue, the original Eonon units, the older ones, they had an iPod connector, so you could plug your iPod in. I've got a converter here so I can use it with my iPhone 6. I love that feature because it charges the phone and allows you to play the music through it. But now none of the newer Eonon units come with the iPod plug. They said something about not being able to decode the signal or something like that, but I strongly think it was probably more of a legal thing, like Apple might have threatened them to sue, because companies are supposed to pay royalties to Apple whenever they use their plug. So probably makes more sense to me, but none of the units I've found for these cars, like Dynovan, Eonon, there's quite a few other little brands, none of them had iPod cables anymore, so that's the one reason I didn't want to get a new unit, because I love that. But apparently the new unit will still charge the iPhone, and the Bluetooth, you can use the Bluetooth to listen to music and stuff like that. The Bluetooth sound quality in this unit for playing music wasn't the best, so that's why I love plugging it in. But apparently the new one, I think it's Bluetooth 4 it has, so apparently it's really good for music, so we'll see how that is anyway. I'm going to miss the iPod cable, but the other features just make it a lot more worth it. So I'm still pulling this out, and I'll have the new one in very soon. So another thing to remember when installing these units is you will have a GPS antenna to install. My original one was installed just on top of my cluster, so it's hard to see that, but I've just pulled that down to get the original one out. I'm going to put the new one in. You don't have to put it there. We just put it there when I originally installed the unit, because I had a lot of the car already apart. But you can just tuck it up over here, like under the dash, or some people like to actually run them up here and stuff, but I've got awesome reception just doing it where I had it. So anywhere should be okay. If you're not getting reception, try and move it around, make sure it's plugged in, but I've had really good reception there, so I'm going to leave it there. The Wi-Fi antenna I'm probably just going to push over the other side, just above the glove box, because you only really need the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi doesn't have to, it's not like GPS or a phone tower where it has to be close to the sky or whatever. It's just got to be close to the device that's actually sharing the Wi-Fi, so it should be fine pretty much anywhere. Alright guys, this is the first boot. Just got it plugged in without anything else, just the power, just see if it works. All the speakers work. Just going to do a little bit more testing on it, and then I'll, if it's all good, I'll put it all back together, and then I'll play around with it for a few hours or something, then I'll give my review. Alright, so as I said at the start of this video, the review is actually going to be a separate video. This one started to go for a little bit too long. So the review will be separate, and I'll put a link in the description below to the review. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helped you. I didn't go into massive detail about how to install it, but my friend has an X5 with DSP, so we're going to be doing a full install video on that car. So the E53 X5 is very similar to the E39 and the E46. They're a bit of a hybrid. So yeah, that should be fun doing that installation. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you want to see the review of this head unit, check for the link in the description below. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.